Forward to the computer. Okay, so happy full moon, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. I really appreciate those of you who come on live and how precious your time is. So thank you so much for waiting with my technical issues that I was having, as well as my schedule issues that I was having today. So like I said, happy full moon. I'm Reverend Anna Jones, and excited to be here tonight on this full moon in Sagittarius. And I am going to be not speaking too much about the full moon itself. This is a global angelic transmission from Archangel Michael, which is what this event is going to be focusing most of the time on. And I'm doing my best to give as much of a short introduction as possible, including a short introduction to myself, and going much more at length in the Archangel Michael study group that I'm leading on the I believe it's the first Tuesday of every month. So we're studying these messages that we're receiving on these full moon transmissions, and there's still the ability to join in if you're interested in that. You could just go back to my website, which is annajonesonline.com, which is where you all signed up for this evening. And while you're on there, you can also learn more about me if you're new and you're just now coming to these transmissions for the first time. You can learn more about me on that website as well. There's a video on the homepage. There's my bio page. And there's also the Celestial Voice podcast, which is where all these messages get put up. The recordings that I'm making right now from these messages get put up on the Celestial Voice podcast. And all the previous messages in the series so far have already been posted, including the one from last month. And it takes me a while to post them, so it's not a right away immediate thing, but you can always look for them on the Celestial Podcast page of my website. So again, if you go to Anna Jones Online, so Anna Jones Online on whatword.com, you click on podcasts, it'll be the only podcast that's up there. It's called Celestial Voice. And I always give them a title, right? It doesn't say full moon from May, but it has whatever title, and the most recent one will be the most recent transmission, and then going backwards, right? And then you'll see a whole bunch on there from last year, the previous year, the other years in which there's been global transmissions. Almost all of the ones up there have been global transmissions. There's a few additional ones I've added in here and there, but not very many, right? So most of the ones are global transmissions. If you don't want to go to my website and you want to subscribe also via iTunes, that's another way to access the recording from tonight. Once it's posted, it'll be probably those who are on iTunes probably get notified fastest. So if you want to kind of, if you have iTunes and you have the the podcast feature on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, I think it might be called, and then you can always subscribe there, and I think they send you a notification once it's been posted. And then new last year and this year is also the Celestial Voice podcast YouTube, where you can get the video. So the rest of them are on audio only, and you can get the video on the Celestial Voice podcast on YouTube. So if you Google me, Anna Jones with one N, right? So, and then you Google Celestial Voice podcast, you'll be able to find it and you put in YouTube on there, you'll be able to find it that way. So I'm going to just say a couple things about the full moon, and that's it, right? So then I'm going to switch into the questions for Archangel Michael for this evening, okay? Tonight's, there's lots of different names for this particular full moon in different indigenous cultures, but one of the names that indigenous cultures have given it is the strawberry moon. Not because it's pink, because a lot of times you'll see cute pictures or kind of nice, pretty memes of like the moon being pink for the strawberry moon, but not because the moon is pink in any way, unless there's something in the atmosphere or that's where you are giving it that hue, but because of strawberry season. And so we're literally in the peak of strawberry season right now, and it's blueberry season beginning, cherries, just many of those fruits are fruiting at this time period, and that's why the indigenous people gave it that name. And so if you think about the energies, so if you think about the energies of Sagittarius, you're trying to think about the energies of strawberries and cherries and the kind of the bright energy that they have, the uplifting energy that they have, that kind of gives you the energy of this particular full moon. What I will say about the energies of this full moon is that it's not just happening by itself. Also connected with it is a grand trine in fire. Now, generally, the full moon in Sagittarius would be, just a really good time, strong time for, making new plans, making new dreams, being able to kind of maybe travel, both physical and metaphysically. And there's lots of good things about the energies of this particular full moon. The grand trine and fire adds some additional things to it. So again, if you're interested in astrology, you may want to look some of this up and learn more about it. It brings up issues of independence, and fire is fiery energy, right? So, and there's a grand trine, it's kind of a triangulation of it, right? Um, so there's a lot of issues of sovereignty and independence and freedom and, breaking down or breaking through, and a lot of fiery energy associated with it, right? So strawberry moon, we think, oh, good, positive, not saying that the fiery energy is bad in any way, shape, or form. It's just, it can bring fiery energy in challenging ways. So I think we see all of that, and we feel all of that happening in our lives and in our world right now. Yeah, and so that's all I'll say about those things. Other than I always ask questions to Archangel Michael. He asked me to do these transmissions every time. And decades ago, when I started this work, and the angels gave me a process to always use. They said, "Oh, never approach without asking questions." So I guess one of my questions is there anything he would like to say further about the energies of this particular moon, the fieriness of it or the sweetness of it, right? Because it's carrying both the energies of this grand trine of fire, the fieriness, and it's the sweetness of the strawberries and the cherry. The sweetness of that time. This time is also wonderful. The other thing I'll say is that it's the time period for what I was describing in the study group of peak light, like between now and the summer solstice, which is next week on June 20th. The light is just going to be getting stronger and stronger for those of us in the northern hemisphere who are going to be experiencing peak light on the summer solstice. And that is, of course, something we're going to be experiencing with the days getting longer and longer as they have been since the winter solstice began. But we're going to really be feeling that increase of the light daily, which is interesting because as wonderful as that is, there's also a fieriness to it, right? So winter solstice has a calming, soothing, earthy, watery kind of energy usually, and summer solstice has a very strong, summery fire energy associated with that. So I'm very curious to see if Archangel Michael has anything further that he wants to say about not only the energies of this full moon, but the energies going forward from this full moon to the summer solstice, or since this is usually these transmissions, these global transmissions, if he's not asking for a monthly series, I usually just do them on the solstices and the equinoxes, which is when he asked for them originally, and when he's not asking for monthly series is usually when he asks for them. So I'm not doing one on the solstice this year because of the monthly series, right? And I asked him, I said, do you want to do one in addition, to the monthly series? And the answer that I got back was no on that. So this is kind of the solstice message too. So is there anything that he would like to share with us, not only in preparation between now and the summer solstice with the energies now, but also the energy of the summer solstice itself, or the energies coming forward into the summer? Of course, we will continue on the full moons throughout the summer with this series, so he can always add things if he doesn't answer this question. And I put questions out there, and he can pick and choose whether he wants to answer them or not, and that's how it's always been with my work. Is the angels are very much in charge of what they want to answer, but they told me to never approach them without questions, and to never even use the process that they've given me without questions. So I'm going to go forward now into a few more questions. Some things that came up and that I thought of when we were studying the last message from last month during the study group, but then some other things that are in addition. For example, one of my in addition ones is that I'm kind of on a regular basis also asking him if there's anything further that he would like to say on the subject of the virtues. There was a virtue that he spoke about in the global transmission in May, the full moon global transmission, and that virtue was resilience. And he spoke about it in small amount, and he spoke about it privately in different messages. And I'm still working on. I have some excerpts that have been sent to me that have been pulled out. And super grateful for the help and assistance with that. And then I'm going to be like putting together maybe something that I'll put online, or maybe something in a newsletter or something like that I'll be able to send out on the topic of resilience. That's my intention for that. Is there anything further that he wants to say about resilience, since it seems to be the virtue he's really been focusing a lot on, both in a private group session that I led in Hawaii, as well as in the transmission last month? It is the only virtue that he spoke at length about, and that he spoke specifically as a new, it's a new virtue that he's been introducing. Or is there something else in addition to the virtue of resilience? So why am I asking about virtues? Because he's been, for those of you again who might be new, he's been on a series of messages for many of these global transmissions, speaking to us about how this is a time period in which virtue has been waning, so much so that we don't use the word even that much anymore. It's not even used in our common everyday language. And so much so that when it is used, sometimes it's used in even a derogatory way, like accusing somebody of virtue signaling or something along that line, right? So, yeah, so he's been speaking through this series of messages. I'm looking down right now at my questions. He's been reading through the series of messages on the virtues. So is there anything further that he would like to say about it? And one of the questions that I also had is he's been speaking about the subject occasionally, not real regularly like the virtues has, but occasionally on the subject of the universal laws. It comes up a lot, and sometimes he's spoken on it, like what the universal laws are. We're always curious about this. I am. Some of the people who've listened to many of these transmissions, we're always curious to learn more on the subject of the universal laws. And so is there anything further right now that he would like to say? So those are kind of like ongoing questions that I always like to ask him, since he kind of has began speaking about certain topics. But I'm going to go now to my list of things that I had from the study group that I personally, when we were doing the studying, thought would be interesting to ask about. Briefly, and I think it was because the last full moon was a special sacred holy day associated with the Buddha. But briefly, he did speak about the Buddha in the transmission last month. And when I was reading it, I noticed that he was saying that there's many different Buddhas, which I've known as an interfaith minister, and it sounded like he was saying that different ones do different things, which I have some awareness of. I don't understand a lot of, but would he like to say more about this? It's not common, even when I bring up that there's some sacred time associated with that, he always brings that in or ties that into something that he's saying or speaking about. So would he like to say anything more about the Buddhas, the different ones that are out there, and the different ways that we can perhaps work with them? Because he speaks about the angels and the different ways that they are, and the different types of beings that they are, and how we can work with them. And so just wondering about that. So can he say more about his statement about the angels choosing to incarnate more in the future? That was so unique part of the message last time. He began to speak something about it even previously, but then he went into most depth about it last time, in the last transmission last month. That I titled the transmission something like that, right? So if you look on their podcast, you'll see the topmost one is Angels Appearing to Us, I believe is what the title was that I gave it, or something close to that. And I just thought that was such a significant part of the message that just stood out as being something totally different, because he literally said that right now, more than ever, angels are going to be manifesting themselves, not necessarily taking birth, that's incarnating. And this question had to do with incarnation, so I'll go back to that specifically. But he said appearing, right? Manifesting themselves. That means appearing and disappearing, not like taking birth or incarnating. But he said that now they're going to be increasing they're doing that. They've always done it, and they have the ability to do it anytime they want to do it. But the angels were going to be doing that, which I thought was just really special in all the years that I've been doing it. It's not I've never heard anything quite like what he described, and it seems very significant for this time of uncertainty he keeps describing to us. Right, the words that he keeps using for this, this time of flux, or what I would call, crisis convergence or polycrisis or things along that line, are terms that are being used. He's calling basically times of uncertainty. So, but this question that I had was more about he had a very quick little statement that he said that in the future, the angels would actually be incarnated, but it wouldn't be in our lifetime. I don't know why he felt the need to even say it. That's why I asked the question about it, right? Like, why did he even feel the need to say it? Was there some reason why we need to know that if it's not going to be in the course of our lifetime? That just was kind of intriguing to me, and obviously intriguing subject. And then there was a question that was submitted also from one of the study group members, because one of the benefits of being a part of the study group is that you get to submit questions that are kind of on behalf of everybody, right? They're things that are not personal questions, but questions that, like I'm talking about right now, that like it might benefit everybody to hear some of this, or to know some of this. It's really about the collective. And that kind of ties into that. So I'll get to that after I kind of go through what my questions are. So then my question also is that would he like to say more about these increases of appearances that I've been talking about too, and how we might recognize them as one of the things. Like he did give some specifics last time, so make sure you go in and you take some notes from some of the things that he was saying. But if he has any more specifics to give us on how we might recognize them, that would be helpful. And then, there was different things related to the nature of the material world. We're always we live in this material body, we live in this material world. He's always talking about how the material world and the spiritual world are one with each other. So it's not like they're separate, they're one with each other, but they're not the same. They're not the same as each other. And the material world is a very temporary place. And very temporal. It's time and space, and that which is temporal is temporary, right? So, and everything here is like, under these, like, basically these universal laws of the material universe. That's very different from this what he calls the spiritual world, which is like this whole other realm. So, would he like to say anything further about that nature of the material world, the nature of the spiritual world? It comes up a lot, and he's always trying to help us to understand that. And I think it's one of the reasons why we find this planet so weird and so odd and so confusing, and why it's just like, who are we and what are we doing here? And these kind of like, deep questions that we go throughout our whole lives asking ourselves, is because we don't really understand the nature of the two, right? So anything further, he wants to help us understand that and the ways in which they're intertwined and interconnected. So there's kind of some big questions that are there about that. But again, he can pick and choose anything that he wants. The energetics of war in general, wars, the emotions that drive it, just fighting, quarreling, being, at odds with each other. He's been speaking about emotions. So he said that his actual theme for the whole series is dealing with this time of uncertainty that we're in. And he said that also that his theme would be, in addition, talking about emotions. So the emotions that he spoke about last time was fear. Well, first time was fear. Last time was mostly anger, which again has to do with fear, frustration, irritation. He kind of listed like subtle other ways of anger. And those are just really good teachings that he's been giving on what those emotions are, how we can move those energies, transform those energies, transmute those energies, even transfiguration of those energies into something else, because emotion, he describes it as emotion, energy in motion, and that we can feel a lot of things, but we don't have to always emote it. But when we are emoting it, we need to feel it, and then we need to do something with it, right? Not just hold it inside of ourselves. We need to either transform, transmute, transcend, transmit in some other new way, or be able to like have a transfiguration of those energies. And he's been speaking also about transfiguration, and I'd like to know if there's anything further he wants to say about emotions and the transfiguration of emotions, which has to do with like once they've actually like really like been moved so much, and they've moved so much either in us that they've manifested in us in some way. Maybe they've manifested in our body, or maybe they've manifested through some kind of physical actions that we've taken, or they've manifested through something we've created or something like that. The transfiguration seems to be that form, that it's actually kind of like emotion that's actually even taken form in some way. So I'm very curious about those things. He did bring up safety and security last time, and he said that they are emotions as well, right? So we oftentimes, he just said, just think of it as external things, but really feeling safe, feeling secure are emotions as well. So he brought it up, he touched on it, but I'm wondering if there's anything further that he would like to say about those two emotions. Is that all that he has to say? And there's not going to be anything further on the topic of those two emotions, because they seem really big and they seem very much connected to those two other very big emotions that he talked about when he talked about anger, and he talked about fear and all the various different forms of fear and all the various different forms of anger. So I'm very interested to see if he has anything further to say. In fact, I would like him to say, if he could, more on the topic of feeling safe and feeling secure, the safety and security as the emotions that they are. So that was it for my list of questions. So let me just quickly go through here and look at the list, the short list that was given by the study group member that emailed me. Let's see. And this first question says, can you say anything about how to emote? So he's asking us to emote the virtues, how to emote the virtues without it becoming fake, like a mask of itself, or a fake expression of it, basically, is the essence of the question there. Like, for example, somebody saying, no, no, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and they're really not fine, right? Somebody saying, oh, I'm grateful, thinking that, but they're really feeling resentful, or they're really feeling upset, or they're feeling hurt, or something along that line, right? So being able to kind of emote those virtues in a way that is real and is not fake. So that's an interesting question, because he does encourage us, definitely in that last message. I believe it's in other ones too, but he's really getting into now also like saying that one of the ways to kind of transform our emotions is using the virtues to transform them, right? Like if we then go from one emotion and then we start to, like, for example, the virtue of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the virtues he's spoken about at length. If we go from being angry into gratitude, I'll give that as an example, and we emote the gratitude, right? Then it literally transforms and maybe even fully transmutes the anger, right? Because we can't actually stay in both. We can think gratitude and stay in anger. I think that's part of that, for me, the experience of, is it real or not, right? Am I feeling gratitude, or am I just thinking gratitude? Right. So we can think it, and be feeling angry still, right? I can speak it and I can still be feeling angry still. But if I feel gratitude and I really emote gratitude, then it's hard to you can't really be in that vibration, that emotional energy of that anger. It transforms it, or transmutes it in some way, shape, or form, right? So that's an example of what I believe this question is asking about. But like, what's the difference, right? For me, the difference is thinking versus feeling. But is there anything further he would have to say about that? And then the second question is it on page 5. So if you looked at this as a written last month, May's message, if you had a written transcript of it, it'd be on page 5. But within that May transcript, within that May message, from Archangel Michael, the global transmission, he says that angels will be incarnating frequently, right? So I said this is a kind of a tie-in question. It says, what is the difference between an angel who incarnates. So this again, they said they're not going to be incarnating until later, right? Not in our lifetime, they're incarnating. But what is the difference between an angel who incarnates and an earth angel? This is some subject that's come up. It's not anything I've ever heard in the global transmission spoken very much about. Like basically, what is an earth angel? What's the difference between an earth angel and an incarnated angel, right? And those terminologies that get used. And of course, it's maybe different in other people's channeling, but how does Archangel Michael want to describe it in this message tonight, if he wants to answer it? So then the third one has to do with justice and injustice. So the person is saying Archangel Michael has said that we can no longer turn a blind eye to injustice, but he has also said it is only God's place to judge. And sometimes that the most loving thing we can do for another is to say no. So how do we reconcile these statements is the question. So 3 things that he's said, maybe not even combined, not sure it was even in the last transmission, but just things that he has said and taught, that we can no longer turn a blind eye to injustice, and yet it is God's place to judge, and that also sometimes it's the most loving response we can do to say no. So how do those statements reconcile is the question. And that's it. Those are the questions. All right. So let me explain to you, especially for those of you who might be new. I'm going to take a sip of water also because I'm still getting over a cold that turned into a sinus infection. So bear with me on that. You've been coughing today. Hopefully that will be calmed down during the time period of the transmission itself. So we're going to do a process. That's a process that the angels gave me years ago. They said if I always use it, it would always work for communicating with them and making these transmissions possible. And that process is 4 things that's done in 5 steps, right? So 4 things done in 5 steps. For those of you who are new, I'll explain those 4 things. But for all of us, I'll be guiding us through them, right? But first they said, ask questions, never approach, never even begin the process without having some questions. So I got that done, got that put out there, right? So we're through with that part. And now we'll begin the four things done in 5 steps. So the first thing is, the first step and the first thing is praise. And so we're going to be doing a praise chant when I start to facilitate this for us. The praise chant that they gave me to always use is whatever angel I'm trying to invoke, to do their name first. So the name of Michael is a name that I don't ever feel like the L sound, which is the sacred name of divine in Hebrew, one of the sacred names of God in Hebrew, is quite strong enough. So the version of Michael's name that I use in the praise chant is Michael. There's lots of different languages and lots of different pronunciations. For example, in French, the name for Michael is Michel, right? Michel, like we have in a female name. So the version that I use, the pronunciation that I use is Michael for the chants, for the chant. So Michael, 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 which when we're saying it, when we're singing it, right, which I'm going to invite all of you to join me when I begin to do the process, right? So it'll be Michael, 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 chanted either silently or out loud that I'm going to be guiding you to do it in. And then Adonai, Elohim, Adonai, Eloheinu, Michael, Michael, Michael. So Adonai, Elohim are both names. Adonai and Elohim are both names for the divine also in Hebrew. These are the names they gave me for this particular process. I always use them for this particular process. Are they the only names of God that I work with as an interfaith minister? No. But these are the names that they had me use for this chant and this chant that they taught me. So then Adonai Eloheinu, so Adonai again, Eloheinu, another name for the divine as well. And then back to Michael, Michael, Michael. And so it's invoking the divine energy, the divine presence, and the power of those names, including the Elohim, which is the divine, which is actually is plural. If you look at, feminine and masculine, there's also plural in the Hebrew, the Elohim. And the angels say that also includes them. It includes God's presence kind of everywhere and everything is what they've said about the Elohim aspect of that. So we'll do that until basically I feel the connection happening. Archangel Michael presence comes in some, but then it doesn't come fully in until we get to the third part, which is the receiving, right? So um, yeah, so the next step is that I'll guide us into an invocation prayer, asking the angels to come, asking Archangel Michael to come, asking him to hear these questions, respond to us, and also giving him permission. And it's not just me saying this prayer, I'm guiding you because this is a global transmission. He says that he's not just bringing it to me. He's not just bringing, I'm only receiving the what I call the vocal part of it, right? There's this entire energy transmission when he's invoked in this way that he's willing to give to the whole planet, and he's doing it on the full moons. He is revealed because he wants to amplify the energies, which is also why he does it on the solstice and the equinoxes sometimes. But he wants to amplify it using the energies of the full moon, which affects us so much on our emotional level, right? So this is what he's revealed so far about why he wants to do this now. But it's not just energy he's sending to me, it's energy that he's sending to all of us, and not even to just those of us who are live on this. It's a transmission that he energetically imparts through the recording. He said that it's absolutely possible to receive it through the recording. I think there's still something special about doing it on the night of the full moon, doing it live during the time that the full moon is happening, etc. But the transmission from Michael itself, if you do the process, if you can just sit down with the recording and go through the whole process and then receive it the way that, not just like driving your car or something, but just like do a meditation and let yourself receive it. I've had people tell me that even, weeks, months later that they listen to some of these recordings, sometimes in some cases of some of them years later, and they'll listen to the recordings and they'll still feel that the energetic connection that they're making and the energy that they're receiving from Archangel Michael gets really, really strong during them. And that people say that there's times where they feel his presence. There's been people who have had visions, images, and things like that of him during these transmissions. And then I've definitely heard many times people say that they feel like he might be saying something that's speaking directly to them, etc. So, but it says it's not even just those of us who are listening to it now or the recordings, but people who are never going to hear it even, right? That's why he calls it a global transmission. He's sending, when we invoke him in this way, he's sending this energy to the earth. Now, does he do it on a regular basis? Yeah, he sends energy to humanity. He helps all beings upon the earth. But when we are asking him, like when we invoke the angels, when we ask them to do so, they're always, always, always saying to us, and not just through my channeling, through so many people and mystics, throughout ages, not just like modern day ones, that the angels are able to do more when they're asked. Right. And so there's something sacred about this process of joining our energies together, joining our light together, uniting our light with the intention of receiving this global transmission, at the time of this full moon for ourselves personally and for the collective, right? For the benefit of all, basically, right? So the invocation prayer honors that, acknowledges that. And then I'll guide us straight from there into the gratitude portion. So that's step 3. So the praise chant, which is praising, asking. So that's the invocation. And then number 3 is thanking. So into the gratitude portion of the prayer. And then the receiving, right? So the receiving is the 4th thing. And so it's 4 things, but it's done in 5 steps. So the receiving is the receiving of the transmission. I'll receive the vocal portion of it, and you'll all receive the energetic transmission of it that he's going to be giving to you personally and giving to the planet, right? So we'll all be receiving. The best thing to do is just be in that relaxed meditative state while you're listening to it. Again, whether you're receiving it in person or whether you're receiving it through the recording, right? Just let yourself relax and be open to receive. But then that 5th step is returning back to praise again. Once the transmission portion of it, the vocal part of it is complete, I'll come back and I'll basically it's like my energy expands out here. I'm not fully in my body, and their energy comes in, and then once their energy lifts out, my energy comes back in. Then I'll guide us up out of the meditation at the end, and I'll have us complete the process. Think of it like a circle or like a clock, right? Starting with praising, asking, thanking, receiving. and then returning back to that fifth step of praising once again. Only I do a little bit different with the praise at the end. I could definitely do it the formal way and do the full chant, but it's okay for us to just do Adonai Elohim as the praise chant at the end, just by itself, just Adonai Elohim, just 2 or 3 times. It doesn't have to be a lot, just something to bring it all full circle, right? And to bring basically the presence of the divine into the whole process from beginning to end. All right, so that's the process. Let's do it. Let me grab another drink of water. It's best to turn your phones off, not have any distractions around you. If you want to get the most out of this experience, it's best to just fully participate. So let's make ourselves comfortable. I'm going to close our eyes. We're going to begin by taking some long, slow, deep breaths in order to center ourselves. Now I'm going to begin with the praise chant and ask you to join in silently or out loud with me. Everybody's muted, so if you're in a space where you feel like you can do it out loud, please feel free to do so. Michael, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Michael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Michael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Michael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Michael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Michael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Michael, Michael, Michael. Deep inhale and exhale. And now we're going to move into from the praising to the asking. So please silently follow along with me in whatever way feels right to you with the invocation portion of the prayer. First, let's all silently call upon the presence of divine love and divine light. Let's ask to be protected and connected by divine love and divine light. And let's ask to be connected in a circle of love and a circle of light, uniting our light, uniting our energy throughout whatever space or time we are living in, different time zones, different places. Just having our light strong and bright, and uniting our light through divine love, through divine light, and uniting our light with Archangel Michael. And specifically, we'll silently call upon Archangel Michael, ask him to come into our circle of light, ask him to enter into our circle of love. Ask him to bring his energies in closer and to bring through the global transmission that he is asked to bring through on this night of the full moon. Let's ask him to hear the questions that I have verbalized, and to give us any answers or insight into any of these things or all of these things. And let's silently give him permission to speak freely to us about any or all things that he feels is for our highest good to know right now, for the highest good of humanity and the earth. And then we're going to move from asking to thanking, but first just feeling gratitude in our hearts. Letting ourselves feel deep gratitude for Archangel Michael. And then sending out a silent prayer of gratitude to Archangel Michael for all that he does, known and unknown, in our lives and in our world. And also for all that he is, all the things that we know and don't know, this blessing that he is, this presence of love and light that he is in our lives. Just also sending out our gratitude for all that he is, known and unknown to us. And then we'll send out our final gratitude prayer directly to the divine in any way that feels right to us, just sending out any silent prayer of gratitude for the blessings of life itself and the blessings in your life. And now we're finished with the thinking and we're going to move into the receiving. So I want you to just relax even more now, using your breathing to relax into a deep meditative listening state, and to just be open to receive any and all connection, any and all message from Archangel Michael, any energy that he wishes to send. And I'm going to go deeper now into my meditative trance state until the next words are the message that he wants to speak through for the vocal part of the global transmission. I am intentionally giving extra time in the beginning of this transmission for there to be silence. The silence speaks volumes, allowing you to just be, allowing you to slow down, breathe, relax, be. At the last full moon, I spoke about the value of meditation. While I am not specifically asked about this tonight, it is something that I wish to continue to help you to all understand. Meditation is more valuable than all money. All money. If you gathered it together, all the money in the world, it is still more precious and more valuable than that. More valuable than any precious gem. More valuable than any precious metal. More valuable than any of the precious elements. More valuable than all of the things that you look at in your life and that you think of externally in the world as being the sources of your safety and your security. And there are many people that would disagree with what I am saying. But what I am saying is not just a matter of opinion. And it's not just a matter of belief either. It's a matter of being. The truth within your being. And I, the Archangel Michael, take this very seriously. Any role that I have to play in helping you and assisting you is always connected to helping you to remember who you are and the truth of your own beingness, the truth within your being. The eternal souls that you are. The eternal truth that you are. The eternal wisdom that you are. And the eternal virtues that are interwoven into your souls. Like threads in the tapestry that has created it. That makes you, you. That makes you who you are. And so many of you would say, how can meditation possibly be more valuable than all of the money in the world? And the homes that that could bring me, and the food that that could put on my table. Because it helps you to enter into your presence, your soul essence, your beingness. But not just that. It helps you remember, yes, but not just that. The deeper and deeper and deeper you go into your meditation practice, and there is no limit to the depths ultimately. Is there limits to thought? Absolutely. Are there limits to things that are of the material world? Yes. Are there limits to material nature and things in material nature? Yes. The material world is within the infinite, but it is a special manifestation. And the infinite is within it. But the material world and that which is of the material universe is of its own special nature, is also unique and individualized, of an experience of the finite that is found within it, that is experienced within it. An experience of the finite that all of you are having when you are in material form. But you are not finite, your true nature. Not your true nature. And the deeper and deeper you go into the awareness of who you are and the expansiveness of your consciousness as souls, You move into soul realization. It is meditation that has the ability to move you into soul realization. And it is meditation that has the ability to move you in expanded and deepened ways beyond just soul realization into divine realization, beyond just self-consciousness into divine realization of God consciousness, of the presence of the divine, your relationship with the divine, your individuality and your oneness with the divine, both. And ultimately into the realization of all that is, of all that is. But if I were to ask you, and you didn't know that it was me, if I were to be with you in a room somewhere and ask you a question, a simple question of what is the most valuable thing, would any of you answer meditation? And the reason why I'm putting it in this category, and I'm not putting it in the same category as the virtues, is I'm referring to it as a thing. Virtues are not things. I'm referring to it as an experience. Virtues are not an experience. You can experience them. You do experience them. But they are God's energies. They are divine energies, ever present, everywhere, all around you and within you. They are the presence of the eternal. They are the presence of the infinite within the finite. They can be practiced, yes. They can be felt. They can be emoted. They can be talked about as if they are things. I can describe them as things you can practice, however, perhaps, but they're not things. And some of you would say that meditation isn't a thing because it's not an object. But it is a practice. It is a thing you can do. It is what will bring you the awareness and the realization of the true source of your safety, the true source of your security, the true source of your shelter, the true source of your sustenance. The true source of the energy that you need. That everything in your material lives comes from. And I am not here to promote just one form of meditation, and this isn't my intention at all. I am to encourage you to use any and all forms, practices, tools, methods, techniques, and things that are associated with them for meditation practice, and to cherish it as your prized possession, as your most valuable thing. Because as all of the sacred spiritual traditions of the world have understood, and all have their own tools, methods, concepts, things associated with the different ways that they even call, or different things they may even call meditation practice, because they may not even call it meditation, but that's what it is. They all have understood. All of the ancients, all of the ancient spiritual traditions, they all have understood that it is the access, that it is the key, that there are physical benefits, emotional benefits, mental benefits, which is why there's meditations that are just working with the benefits of the mind only, meditation that just work with the benefits of the emotions only, meditations that just work with the benefits of your body and your physical health only. And it is appropriate to use them when you need them, as you need them, for those benefits. But the greatest benefit of all, the most valuable benefit, lies within the spiritual. These spiritual benefits, as I'm describing, there's no end to those benefits. There's no end to the breadth and the depth. Even those who speak of enlightenment, who teach of enlightenment, even those who have achieved enlightenment, and there are many, enlightened ones. They understand that enlightenment is not the end of the benefits of meditation, is not the end of the meditation journey, of the value of it. It's just the beginning of another phase, of the next phase and the next stage of where it can take you. And I'm not always talking about just eyes closed meditations either. There are active forms of meditation. There are passive forms of meditation. Both are important, just as there is waking state and there is sleep state. You have active state and you have rest state with your body and your minds and your emotions. This is also true with meditation practice. There is value to all of them, and both of them are needed. And it is fine to practice active states of meditation. It is helpful, it is valuable, it is beneficial. But it is also equally valuable to practice the passive states of meditation. And for some of the most valuable things, that I've experienced where I'm describing the infinite depths is where they connect. Where they connect. Where the passive and the active connect in that blissful state of being. And that blissful, ecstatic state of consciousness that I have referred to by many names. The name of the still point, the 0 point, the reason why I've also used the name 0 point to reference this place where the active and the passive and all things connect, where literally all things connect. It's because either way, you have to empty, you have to surrender. Just like you have to exhale in order to inhale. You have to exhale the air from your lungs in order to inhale and be filled and fill them once again. Either way, when you do empty, when you do enter into that interconnectedness where all things connect, that emptiness, that surrender fills you, then immediately allows for you to be filled with all that you need to do everything that you are incarnated and embodied and on the earth to do. To be all that you are and all that you have come to be. All that you've incarnated here to be. Because your purpose, your destiny in this life, individually and collectively, as I have spoken of both, they are not just things that you are here to do. First and foremost, actually, it is who you have come here to be. Who you are and being who you are and being who you've come here to be. And then you can act and serve and do and create and be co-creators from that place. And not just create and co-create in selfish ways, and not just for yourself, but for others, because when you really realize who you are, you will also realize not only the individuality, the uniqueness of your individual soul, but the oneness that you share. You are not separate. You are unique, as I have spoken of many times. And that uniqueness, it's infinitely diverse. It's incredibly beautiful. It's special and precious. And there is not another soul like your soul. That's how unique you are. But you are also, you are not just that unique individual soul. You are also part of the oneness of all that is. As I have said it many times and described it many times, individual and yet indivisible is the easiest way of being able to understand this. Who you are is this unique, beautiful co-creator that's a unique, empowered individual that's indivisible from the whole. That's an integral part of the oneness of all that is. It's necessary for the synergy of the wholeness of all. And you all are uniquely necessary in the wholeness of all. And that is also another experience of love. For it is a manifestation of immense love. And in you, and in that wholeness of all that is, that oneness with all that is immense love. And when you are co-creating in your lives from that consciousness, you will not fear for your safety. You will not fear for your security. You will not be under the illusion, and it is an illusion, that your safety and your security comes from finite things or material things that are limited and that you have to have them. And you have to have so much of them that others don't. Some of the most enlightened, illuminated sacred teachings that have ever been given teach you that what you do unto others, you do unto yourself. Teach you to love thy neighbor as thyself. Teach you to love God. Love the source of all that is. Love the infinite cause of all causes, the creator. And whatever name or relationship you have with the infinite, and that by doing so, that love is for all. It's not just an exclusive thing. It's an all-inclusive thing. Do you have a uniquely individualized relationship with the source of all that is, with the divine creator of all that is? Yes, completely unique. Does it exclude all of creation, however? No. Does it separate you from that oneness that you are a sacred part of? a sacred part in that wholeness of all that is? No. Does that exclusive relationship mean that there is not also an inclusive one? No. It's and, not or. If you want to come into third dimensional consciousness and move out of 3D consciousness into even higher consciousness, you have to understand and move out of your two-dimensional consciousness. Your two-dimensional consciousness says that it has to be exclusive or inclusive. It can't be both. That's two-dimensional consciousness. That your safety and your security, it has to be for you and your community and your family and your friends and your nation. But it can't be both. It can't be for everyone. It can't include everyone else. It has to exclude one or the other. That's two-dimensional thinking. That's two-dimensional consciousness. And at its worst, that two-dimensional consciousness can move you into a very animalistic part of your nature. An animalistic part of your nature that is part of the shadow. Of the shadow aspect of the animalistic part of the human nature. But the human nature itself, the true human, the full human, which is why all of the great teachers, all of the great teachings, all of the great healers, all of the great saints, all of the great masters and avatars, they have all taught you how to become fully human and then exhibited what you are capable of in your full human nature. You come fully into your full human nature as to what you are capable of as the full true human. Hu, a man, Hu being an ancient name for God. God and man united together in third dimensional consciousness. You are able to move into your full humanity. But that third dimensional consciousness is not or. My safety or someone else's safety, my security or someone else's security, and choosing yours over theirs, and choosing yours, even if it means they won't have it because of thinking that it has to be one or the other, me or them, us or them. The full humanity of what you are all capable of and what you all must move into full three-dimensional consciousness that then provides for you this portal dimension and this portal planet and this portal experience that you are meant to have. It is truly a portal then into higher and higher and higher and higher states of being, beyond the dimensions even of the material world, as I have explained previously. There are 12 dimensions of the universe, of the material universe, and then unlimited amounts beyond in the spiritual world beyond. But when you come into three-dimensional consciousness, which brings you into your full humanity, it is not me or them, it is me and them. It is not us or them, it is us and them. And when you come even more fully into that consciousness, it's not just a thought about those things, but it is a realization where you fully realize that uniqueness of that individuality and that oneness. And that is where you are then able to realize safety and security in whole new ways, especially as you come into that consciousness collectively. Are you there? No. Sometimes it will feel as if you are very far away from there. Right now in your world, many of you feel as if you are very far away from there. But I can tell you that the things happening in your world right now, even though they look and appear, and very much things are breaking down, and there is a breaking down and a breaking apart that is happening. A shift can take place in a moment, in an instant. As you shift in consciousness. And I'm not just talking about the consciousness of your mind or the consciousness of an intellect. I'm talking about the consciousness of your soul. As meditation can bring you into that consciousness of your soul. Will you still have emotions? Yes, absolutely. Your full humanity is not the end of emotions, it's the mastery of them. And then from there, being able to live in higher states of existence. Does that mean that you will leave? Some of you will. Yes. Some of you will take birth in higher places, in higher realms. Some will be able to return to the spiritual world and not have to, and not choose to, and be under complete divine blessing of never incarnating again into any of the dimensions of the material universe. But continue there. Does that make you an angel? No. Even the most loving, virtuous, compassionate, highest quality souls amongst you who reach the highest states of consciousness amongst you. Those qualities aren't what makes them angels or not. For the lack of better way of being able to describe it, think of different types of souls. In the spiritual world, we who carry the name, the title, the role of angels, We are souls created to be who we are. We are souls created to play the role that we play. We are a unique type of soul. This does not make us any better than or greater than other souls, but we have unique roles to play. In regards to the question that has been asked about angels incarnating, I revealed it so that you can know that there is a difference between incarnation and appearances, materializations and apparitions, ways that we can appear and ways that we will be appearing. I also stated very specifically that when that time comes, it is not going to be in your lifetimes. So it is best to not fixate on it. Know it without overthinking it. And instead, pay attention to the now. Meditation has the benefit also of increasing your awareness and your ability to be in the present and be in the now. To be fully present in the now, which will help you to be more aware. Are earth angels, angels incarnated? No, not in the way we use the terms. Not in the ways that I understand. They carry the archetype. As you all do, you all have an angelic nature. All earth angels have that angelic nature. But it is a specific archetype. To awaken, to use that angelic nature to help the earth, like we, the angels, do help the earth. The beings of earth, humanity included. And the word itself, angel meaning messenger, to also be messengers. Messengers for awakening, helping, serving, assisting, the awakening of the earth and the awakening of the angelic nature in others. This and more would be what I would describe as the souls who carry as part of who they are the archetypal gift of being an earth angel. And it's not all souls, and it's not all light workers. There are light workers who are earth angels, and there are light workers that are not. You can't understand it through a term, however, or even any of these descriptions. Like all of you, the unique gifts of your soul are understood in the way that I have begun to speak about in this message, especially at the beginning of this message. It comes from realization, not something you can figure out just exclusively with your mind and your minds alone. By realizing and remembering more of who you are, of who you are individually and collectively as one, as an integral part of one whole of creation. What I will say about our appearances is one of the reasons why we are increasing our connection to your material lives and appearing in material form is because of the increase of unrest, because of the increase of those who are doing harm to others, because of the increase of war and violence, because of the increase of those who are harming others, because they think it has to be us or them. And a very shadow-based two-dimensional consciousness that drives all of it. And very wounded emotions and illusory things that create strong emotions of unsafety and insecurity. I am not saying that everything in the material world is safe. I am not saying that everything in the material world can bring you and will bring you security. I am saying that you can co-create safety and security for yourselves and for all of you. Prosperity, abundance for all, peace for all, by realizing the infinite source of it that is within you. By truly waking up to and realizing and remembering the infinite source of it that is always there. And that your soul, sourced to that source, is and will always be able to be safe and secure under any circumstances, and create that, co-create that in your lives and in your world in a way that doesn't have to exclude but can include, because you are all one. And that while the planet is finite, it is part of the infinite as well. And when you're co-creating from that consciousness that I'm describing in this message, that consciousness of safety and security, then you can co-create within a finite world what can feel and appear and manifest as infinite abundance. And I'm not talking about something that hasn't ever been in existence before. The earth has known this. There have been those upon the earth, ancient cultures, that have known how to use your abilities as co-creators to co-create lives in harmonic relationship with the planet, so that the apparent finite resources of the planet, if nurtured with proper stewardship, continue to produce so much more that it feels infinite, and that it seems and it apparently can be not limited for what is needed to thrive. Does it seem as if in this time period of breaking down and breaking apart, as if you'll never reach that state and that way of being collectively? Yes, it seems that way. The quantum leaps also happen. And times of breaking down and breaking apart are also the same times for breaking through. And they are also, and they are also times for not just breaking through to something new, but truly breaking through onto whole other levels that are also equally possible, all at the same time. And it's not one or the other, it is an and. Breaking down and breaking apart and breaking through and breaking through, transcending into so much more of what is possible. These moments, which is why some of the ancient words for crisis also means opportunity. These moments of crisis and opportunity, both. And you want to be able to consciously respond to both. And know deep in your being that you are safe and that you are secure. Deep from the source of your being. And allow yourself to feel that. Even if the world around you is not reflecting that. Emote safety. Emote security. There are people who live in abject poverty with nothing material practically at all, who know that they are safe and know that they are secure. And there are people in extreme wealth, extreme and lavish lifestyles that have never known or felt a moment of safety or security in their life. And the more that they have, and the more that they get to try to make themselves feel safe or secure, still does not bring them that feeling. I am giving you to this example not because one is better than the other, not because poverty is good or wealth is bad, or vice versa. I'm giving you this example because it depends on where you're sourcing it from. You could have nothing or you could have everything. But where are you sourcing that safety and that security from? Where are you sourcing your emotions from? Are you allowing your emotions also, not just your spirit, but your emotions? Are you allowing your emotions just to be determined by external things and external things only? Because if that is the case, then you will be on a constant emotional roller coaster because the energies that are moving through the world are like tsunamis of emotional energy right now, as I've been describing it. Source it from the source of all safety, of all security. And that way you can have everything or nothing and anything in between. You can have any material experience whatsoever in the material world and be empowered as the co-creator that you are to co-create safety and security in your life and in your lives. And when you feel and allow yourself to source and feel and let yourself feel safe and secure based from the inside out and not from the outside in, then you can help others feel that way too. You can truly help others feel that way. You can help those that you love and those who are your neighbors and those who are not just the neighbors of your physical homes, but the neighbors of your nations and their neighbors, because all are your neighbors. Because all are one human family. All are one family of spirit. Feel safe and secure as well. And once you're all helping each other, creating and co-creating with each other to feel safe and secure, what you're able to achieve then is incredible. But when you do it in yourself, you may not be able to make everyone in the world feel safe and secure the way you might like to do that, but You are an integral part of that one whole, an integral, synergistic part of that one whole. So emote safety, emote security. From within, sourced from the source of all safety, of all security, and then co-create from there and choose and act and do and be who you've come here to be from there. And so much more. And so much more. That's the end of the message. Let's just take a moment to say a silent prayer of thankfulness and appreciation for the message and for the angels, for the Archangel Michael. And then we'll bring it back full circle to complete the process just with doing the Adonai Elohim. Bring it back to praising just Adonai Elohim by itself just a few times. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. And then we'll slowly bring ourselves fully up out of the meditation. I'm just feeling very moved from that message and from that experience. Because I don't just, when I'm in the trance state and the energy is flowing through me and it comes in and flows through me and out, but I'm not fully in my body, I'm not fully out either. I'm the witness and I'm watching and I'm also observing and being given sometimes an experience of what it is that's being described. And I think one of the reasons why, myself included, but we don't just easily, effortlessly move into the consciousness that he's talking about here, is that we want to be in that illusion of separation. We keep choosing it, like we keep choosing and wanting to be in it. And even if we don't think we want to be, and even through the spiritual intentions that we're be setting, might not be to no longer be in that illusion of that separation. It was very obvious to me, like evident to me, that there is this part of it, or this part of us that keeps wanting to choose that because the implications of it can maybe feel so big or something. But so there was that that's moving me very much, and then just the awareness, the experience of that oneness, that wholeness, um, the emotions that started coming through at that time. I never know whether it's just my emotions or if it's his or some combination of both. I'd say tonight it felt like some kind of combination of both. He was speaking with such feeling and such passion about that that it was definitely, moving me. There was a whole like, emotional moving experience that I was having from it. Um, um, Also just kind of the enormity of like, when we finally get to this consciousness and we hold it and we don't just kind of move in and out of it and decide to like be in it right now and then leave it later, kind of going back and forth or whatever, which I think is kind of a natural state of progression. uh, the world's going to be a very different place. When he talked about what he's describing existing on Earth before, I I don't know about ancient Atlantis, perhaps, but ancient Lemuria definitely, like way, way, way before um, anything that people think of when they think of Atlantis and Atlantis Lemuria and those events that happened and took place, like but long, long before. Um, was one thing that just came to me as to like when it may have been, but I also felt like there was other ancient cultures that we don't even have historical reference of, that we're still finding like even evidence of some of these cultures that also were living in some of this consciousness that he was describing. Yeah, I also think is interesting. So I have just a couple more things to share here, and then I'll be finished. But uh, there's been this topic of co-creating love-based culture, remembering the experience of heaven on earth. Um, I think that some of what he's describing here definitely fits into that, ties into that, and is required, so to speak, for that. Um, yeah, how do we do that? I mean, and what does that look like? I think that's him. I think he's giving us some little pieces here and there throughout this about what that looks like, and what that might be like. Yeah. There weren't a lot of visuals, not too many. Yeah. How about yourselves? We'll open it up now for people to put into the chat any comments that you have. I'll go ahead and stop the chat. I'll go ahead and stop the recording. You can make any comments, ask any questions, and I'll stop the recording.